Hello, YouTube. This is Reading Reddit, and I'm just going to talk. This today, our story will be about dinner parties. Oh, jolly good. I love a good dinner party. I definitely would like a nice little blazer and a black tie, and maybe some nice jeans, maybe a little more fitted than usual. Kind of want to make a good impression. I like dinner parties. Actually, the dinner parties I go to are not really all that fancy or anything. They're just kind of everybody gets together to have a good time. There's no nothing crazy, and the people tend to make good food. And also, let's face it, I'm not really so big on um hey, if it tastes good, even if it's horrible, I'll just eat it and just not go back for it. I won't go back for seconds of that. So we have two stories here about family dinners, and the second one has an update with a few comments. So let me get started on our first one, and I gotta say, I like OP. So that's already a good sign. Am I the asshole for telling my family no more monthly family dinners? Ever since Dad was a kid, our family has done monthly family dinners. Nicer ones than your average family dinner, actually. It's something our family did when my siblings and I were kids, too. We'd have the grandparents over, and we'd all have a nice dinner together. When my siblings and I grew up, we still did it, only instead of what happened before, where branches broke off over time and did their own, they decided we should include partners and spouses and our kids as a whole in one. By the time I was 19, the family had decided they would take turns hosting each month to lessen the burden. My wife was excited to be a part of them at first. We started during our relationship. I did the cooking to start, and then she would take over after a while because she wanted to. My family had seemingly got along with my wife before this point, but they were overly harsh of her cooking, with the exception of my two younger siblings. She tried to make them happy, but no dice. I told them they could be kinder. They said she should cook better or cook different things. My wife didn't make anything they don't eat. But nothing was right. She grew frustrated, and I grew suspicious. So, we hosted a couple of months ago, and I told my wife we were going to pretend that I did the cooking, just to see. She told me she felt like they just weren't fond of her food. I pointed out nobody had the same amount of complaints as them, and they even criticized the steak and potatoes they all seemed to go crazy for. She went along with the plan, and when my family thought I cooked it, they loved it. Said it was so good, my wife had decided to let a real talent take over. That it was nice to have something a little different, curry, and all this very lovely stuff. My younger brother and sister weren't fooled, but they enjoyed watching the rest of the family dig a hole. When the rest of my family heard it was my wife's food and not mine, they tried so hard to backtrack on all the nice stuff. The rest of the dinner went on in tense silence, and my wife's eyes were opened. I told her I was done with these dinners and that she was my priority. She felt a little bad, but I told her we could have dinners with my younger brother and sister sometimes. It's less stress anyway. So when we didn't show up to the last month's dinner or this one, my parents and siblings started asking questions. I told them each time we weren't going again, and but missing the two made it sink in. They told me we need to be there. I said never again. They said I was overreacting, making very relationship harming choices, and that treating them badly for simple having issues with my wife's food. They also said to think of future kids and how they'll miss out. Some of it did get to my wife a little, which I have tried to reassure her about. Am I the asshole? Slovenly Muse. If they're concerned about future grandchildren missing out, they need to understand their behavior was the problem. And until it changes in a real and meaningful way, they are not suitable dinner companions for vulnerable and impressionable children. If they want their future grandchildren included, they need to think about what they could do to make that happen, starting with an apology and hopefully a frank discussion about what is motivating their behavior and a plan for how to deal with whatever problem they have productively. not the asshole, and do not cave in and go back to dinners, at least until they have taken responsibility for their behavior. The next one comes from the Sugar Sky that says, I had a relative do this to me, complained about all the things I did. Then I pretended my sister did it, not me, and suddenly everything was perfect. She gushed and gushed. The look on her face when my mom told her it was me was priceless. She couldn't backpedal because she'd already gushed about it. She still hates me, but I don't care. She's still her unhappy self. Personally, OP, good on you for standing with your wife. Your parents are assholes, and I'm so glad that you are making a stand. And personally, I just wouldn't be involved with them whatsoever until they actually, because it seems like what they're really doing is they're messed. They're mad that they fucked around, and they're mad because they're on Found Out Boulevard right now. One street right after fuck around block. Um, yeah, not the asshole at all. And honestly, have the dinner with your little brother and sister. They like her, and they'll be fine. They seem like they'll be fine hosts. They might actually bring something if like if you ask them to. And then there is this one. It has an update here, and it says, "Would I be the asshole if I stopped hosting my husband's family holiday dinners? It's updated twice, and I am here for it." So let's go. Would I be okay? My husband and I have been married 5 years, and I don't want to host his family events anymore. I've done Thanksgiving, Christmas, some barbecues, and some other various events over the years. Once in a while, his daughter may bring a plate of deviled eggs or a dish of baked beans, but when it's time to clean up, everyone goes into the living room to socialize and watch TV. My husband doesn't help with anything, cleaning the house, cooking, dishes, etc. Okay, hold on. Let me pause right here. Yeah, back to this beautiful face right now. What the frau? I'm sorry. Like, you know what? So whenever I go to a barbecue and stuff like that, like I don't mind helping out either. And there are some people who like when they're cleaning, you don't get in their way and you just say, "Pass me something," you know? But this is bullshit. Okay, this is nonsense, okay? If you're around long enough, you better help. You at least like pass them the broom or something. Like help them. Okay, moving on. Part of me feels guilty because I don't want to be the catalyst preventing him from spending time with his family in our home. Ooh, girl. I am not saying he can't spend time with his family. I just don't want to be the one who always gets stuck doing all the work. His argument is if I don't do it, then it won't happen. Then it won't happen. Cause oh, your family's coming over? Okay. Deuces. Because you know what? He's been so used to. Ooh, wow. He says neither of his kids will step up to and volunteer to host. Naturally, his first wife did all the family events until she got sick and passed away 7, 8 years ago. Yeah, dealing with his damn family. Or his whole fam damily. Yeah, I'll say it like that. He says his kids are just used to their mom doing all the work. My argument is that they never step up if I keep doing it. They aren't kids. They are in their 50s with their own kids who are in their 20s. Yo, I really don't want to keep putting myself in a position of doing all this work for people who basically ignore me the entire time they are there while they visit with their dad and eat food I prepare, which has been cooked the way they like it, swap stories and jokes among themselves and leave. It is not just 1 or 2 hours, it's usually 4+ hours. Okay, okay, this is my first time doing this one because, wow, like, wow, you're getting my genuine reaction here. Okay, wow. I live here and you're not talking to me and my Fraulein house, don't ever darken my doorway again. I try to interact when an opportunity arises, but I'm literally sitting in the kitchen the entire time because someone is always sitting in my chair and all the seats are unask my seat. Move. Move. Woman. Ugh. I am so mad for you. Uh. I often think about just walking out of the house to go for a walk, but then the food would burn. Let it burn! I don't want to be the center of attention. Just good basic manners would be nice. Most of the grandkids behave better than the parents. Yeah, because they got some sense. His son and daughter are not very pleasant towards me when their father and I started dating. His daughter was downright rude to me on a few occasions, and his son to this day doesn't acknowledge when I'm in the room. His daughter has gotten better, but still not what I would call great. He figured she behaved badly because she lost her free meal ticket because he used to pay several of her bills. There has been absolutely no issues with the rest of the family, like his brother, sister-in-law, nieces, cousins. They've all been great. His brother and wife have actually been awesome. You know what? Dump him and take the in-laws. His son told his dad privately that he has an issue with our age difference. Nothing I can do about that. I've tried to initiate conversations with him to be cordial, but it's a 50-50 chance of if he will even respond. He has never reciprocated. I finally decided I tried, and after 5 years, I could wipe the slate clean with a good conscience. I'm done. Okay, yeah, she doesn't even mention their ages at all, so I would like to know the age difference, though, because that would be a little bit of help to know. And possibly about why what's the age difference, and because something tells me that he went after someone young and naive-ish who was like his first wife, maybe, who was kind of pretty much he seeks out doormat women, is what I can say. Okay. Last year, I tried to get out of doing Thanksgiving by not inviting anyone and cooking for the two of us. His daughter ended up inviting herself and her family over with 1 to 2 days' notice. I was shocked. I would have just been like, I'd have just left and been like, you handle that. Who does that? I told my husband, well, that doesn't work. Of course, he didn't correct her when he had the chance on the phone either. He hates confrontation, especially with his kids. Plus, it worked out in his favor by not speaking up. I'm not that stupid. He got what he wanted, a home cooked meal with his family. I tried the same thing again, not inviting anyone for this Christmas since I ended up having to do Thanksgiving, but again, no one volunteered to host at their place. He offered to buy a smoked ham with some sides from a local venue to help alleviate my stress. So I caved in and tried it. Honestly, it still ended up being almost just as much work, and again, I spent 4 hours in the kitchen being ignored. Not to mention all the time I spent cleaning before, during, and after. No, he doesn't help. Yo! Ugh. When I finally came to terms, my husband was never going to speak up. I hinted around his daughter, perhaps she could host the next one. She said she didn't want to have to clean. Oh gosh, she's a slob. She's already had her youngest son call his grandpa yesterday, same thing she did last year, to find out what our plans were for Thanksgiving this year. Again, they told me they weren't making plans this year. Does this mean she's going to invite herself over again this year? Hosting events have never been in my comfort zone. I've been alone almost my entire life. I can feel anxiety levels raising already. Am I the asshole for not wanting to continue, or should I just keep sucking it up so he could spend the time with his family? I would be perfectly fine if he took his family out to dinner at a restaurant instead. Better yet, take them out and leave me at home. I'd be totally fine with that too. If they don't want to interact with me, then so be it. But don't treat me that way in my own house, especially when I go through all of the work and stress involved. Just isn't worth the aggravation. I'm going to give my comments right now. Fuck this guy. Crepusculum says, not the asshole, book yourself a lovely vacation and rest. By your own admission, they'd only miss the free catering, bar, and cleaning services anyway. They don't treat you like family. Stop giving them family back. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Yourself somewhere lovely. Our next comment is, not the asshole, make reservations at a restaurant or make plans to visit your family. If you do want to attempt hosting again and start a group chat with a spreadsheet, you'll cook the main dish, assign side dishes, and put hubby and spouses in charge of cleanup. Hand hubby a dish towel at the end of the meal and plop yourself in the family room with a glass of wine. Date here. I'm truly overwhelmed by all the response. I wish I could thank you all for taking the time to give me feedback. Due to all your awesome support, I've decided I will no longer host any more of his family holiday dinners. Trust me, I've had my fill. I just wanted to make sure I did enough on my part to try and make things work with his family. I tried and failed, and that's not my fault. I have a clear conscience. Thank you. So update 2, right on these heels. Husband did not take the news very well when I told him I was done hosting. It's been brewing for a couple of years, so it shouldn't have come as a complete surprise. He accused me of preventing him from seeing his family. I knew he would. That pushed my buttons, and I informed him I was not preventing him from seeing his family. I was simply no longer going to be the host and doormat. He said, what if I buy the food or we just do sandwiches? I said, are you going to dust, clean, vacuum, scrub toilets to my level of cleanliness? Not his. I saw a sheepish grin, and he said, probably not. I said, you can always take them to a restaurant. I also told him he never has my back. Both of his kids have poor manners, and they are following his lead when he just sits there and does nothing. He agreed. He said, what can he do about it? I said, stand up and be a parent and tell them to stop their poor behavior. He says he can't. They're too old. I told him I think he is afraid they will leave him if he says something. I said, well, they didn't complain. Well, then don't complain when I take matters into my own hands. Wednesday, his son called to find out what my plans were. Husband said, we are not doing Thanksgiving this year. When he hung up, I said he needed to say, we're no longer hosting anymore. I know what he's doing. He is trying to leave the door open. He is thinking down the road, Christmas. Next day, I was bringing in some groceries and heard him talking to his daughter. I did not hear the beginning of the call, but apparently she asked us what we were doing for Thanksgiving. I did not get to hear his response either. He hung up and said she invited us to go to her place that Saturday following Thanksgiving dinner. She did not invite her brother or his family. I won't lie, part of me would prefer staying at home and let hubby go by himself. However, she is making the effort to step up, at least for this holiday so far, so I will try to live by way of example. So I will bring a dish, lend a hand when needed, and help with the cleanup, but it should be her show. Cleanup would be a perfect time to ask her if her dad mentioned on the phone the other day that my hosting days were over before they try to saddle me down with Christmas. I won't get to over I won't go over all the reasons why, but will only express that I'm done. To those who showed their support, thank you. My, this was a roller coaster. Wow. Sometimes I don't think that people realize that reading these out loud and the effect that it can have on you. I don't know how some of these Redditors do it. OP, I hope it ends well for you, because I think that he's going to try to put you back into the rotation. Don't fall for the rotation. Just don't buy anything. Don't buy anything. Don't do nothing. They'll get the point. All right, reading Reddit. This has been another episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon.